The philosophers that I emphasize with the most are Kirwan and Mendler, who are medium control, and Marvin Marshall, who is high control. I really like Kirwan and Mendler's idea of the social contract. This gives the students responsibility and allows them to be more self-driven. As the teacher and the student create a positive classroom environment together, there will be a mutual respect for one another. I really like the 3 principles that Marshall identifies for every teacher to practice in the classroom. First, positivity. Rephrase negative statements into positive ones, such as, "Don't look at your neighbor's paper," will turn into, "Keep your eyes on your own paper." Second, choice. Give the students the opportunity to become more responsible as they make choices about their education. Marshall states that this will help them become more self-controlled, responsible, and empowered. Third is reflection. Allow the students to reflect and self-evaluate so they can improve daily. When something does go wrong in the classroom, I believe it is important to discipline with dignity. As Kirwan and Mendler state, it is important to not embarrass the student in front of their peers and to be firm and anger-free when giving consequences. Some of the roles and responsibilities of the teacher are to create a safe learning environment where the students can reach their full potential. Part of that will happen as the teacher establishes procedures in the classroom. They need to increase communication with their students and also with the parents. Teachers also need to promote responsibility instead of obedience. I don't want my students to just be following me blindly. I want them to understand what they are doing and to be responsible. The roles and responsibilities of the student are to be responsible. They need to be active participants in the classroom by voicing their opinions and by being engaged during class time. Students need to learn to be self-driven, and they need to reflect often on their own progress and strive to be critical thinkers. Teachers and the student will work together to create this positive environment based on mutual respect. This will allow the students to reach their full potential. Democracy in the classroom is extremely important. Students should interact with the teacher and their peers in order to be co-creators of their learning. One of the ways that I will facilitate this is through morning meetings. Students will be able to voice their opinions and concerns. We will be able to learn together how to treat one another with respect. I will also have class jobs that promote student leadership. The 2 types of motivation that I will have in my classroom are intrinsic and extrinsic. I will use intrinsic motivation to help my students be self-driven and to reach their full potential. I will do this by giving positive feedback, point out what they are feeling, and help them recognize their progress. I will use extrinsic motivation to help my students accomplish tasks that they otherwise wouldn't do on their own. I will do this by establishing a reward and punishment system. Some examples of these 2 types of motivation are giving the class 5 extra minutes of recess for working hard and being quiet, having a reward system with stickers for when they do their homework, having a behavioral system with the red, green, and yellow cards that they flip for being good or bad, giving positive feedback on homework and in class, giving students notes that tell them what I have seen that they have been doing well, also meeting with the students one-on-one to help them recognize their progress. It is important to state rules in a positive way, such as, be respectful instead of, don't be mean. I will establish these rules by having the class co-construct them with me. We will come up with the rules and natural consequences if these rules are broken. I will write these rules and consequences down and send them home with each child. It is also important to have a positive and negative consequences. Positive consequences consist of giving praise and attention, extra time, special privileges, etc. Negative consequences consist of warning slips, privileges taken away, or time owed to the teacher. I plan on building positive rapport with my students by addressing them by name every day. I will also arrive early to class so that I can chat with students as they come in. I also want to chat with the students during recess in order to get to know them better. A few procedures that I will implement are, first, asking for help. I expect students to raise their hand and wait quietly to be called upon for me to assist them. I will establish this by modeling this for them and then having them practice. I will continually praise them when it is done correctly. Second, lining up. I expect students to stand, push in their chairs, and quietly walk to line up by the door in a single file line. I will establish this by modeling for them how to stand, push in my chair, and walk quietly. Then we will practice. If it is not done correctly, they will have to go back to their desks and try again. Third, cleanup. I expect the room to look like it did in the morning. Supplies need to be put away, and there needs to be no trash on the floor. I will model this by showing the students where the supplies need to go and have them practice. Repetition is key. Situational behaviors consist of problems that occur in different times with different students, such as students being distracted with an object or a student being bored and unengaged. The teacher can take action to get these students back on track by removing the distracting object or boosting student interest by changing something in your lesson. Also, the teacher can reinforce positive behavior. Mild behavior requires the teacher to use techniques that are subtle and provide guidance for appropriate behavior. If students are talking during instruction, the teacher can use proximity to quiet them down. If a student is always blurting out answers, the teacher can give them the look or talk with the child one-on-one and remind them of the procedure. Moderate behaviors require a little more action on the teacher's part. If a student is having a hard time getting to work, the teacher can withhold positive reinforcement and discuss with the student natural consequences. If a child is disrupting another student, deliver a warning, and if it continues, have that child move seats. In both cases, I would have the student reflect on their behavior and come up with ways they could improve. Chronic behaviors are repeated behaviors that disrupt the class. If a student is tattling, listen to them and acknowledge their concern, then redirect them to come up with a solution on their own. If a student pushes another in line, hear both children's side to the story and have the student who pushed the other reflect on if that was an appropriate behavior. Offer other options and enforce natural consequences. If a student is non-compliant, it is important to let them know that they are loved. There is most likely an underlying problem. Avoid threats and acknowledge their concerns. Remind them of natural consequences that they have put in place. Bullying. I would address bullying in one of my classroom meetings. We would discuss the different types of bullying, and I would have each student express how they think it would feel to be bullied. We will talk about what to do if they are being bullied or if they see someone else being bullied. I want them to be proactive and aware of the problems that bullying causes. I will make sure that they know that I am there for them if they need anything. The layout of a classroom is essential in formulating a positive learning environment. In my classroom map, there are multiple spaces for group work and for the teacher instruction. Desks are grouped in fours, which allow students to collaborate with one another. The teacher has a whiteboard at the front of the room where she can give instruction and let the students work with their groups in pairs or individually. If a student is stuck on a problem, the desks are grouped in a way that they can receive help from their peers or the teacher. This classroom is set up to meet a variety of learners' needs. There are many bookshelves which will be filled with the varying levels and genres of stories. This will allow those students who need a higher level or lower level of reading to pick something that they will enjoy and that will challenge them. I also plan on having books in different languages for my students who are learning English as a second language. As these students improve their literacy skills in their first language, those skills will transfer over in their second language acquisition. Another thing that will benefit my students are challenge activities. One of my shelves will be filled with challenge activities that students can pull out when they're finished with their work early. Students will know that if they are done with their assignments, they can grab a challenge activity to work on while they wait for other students to finish. There is enough space that they will be able to work without disturbing others. This classroom is also conducive for those who have disabilities. There's enough space that an individual in a wheelchair or with crutches can easily maneuver in the classroom. Although teachers cannot control everything in the classroom, by setting up a positive learning environment, they will be able to give their students a greater chance to succeed.